5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester
1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing? Sam here, United People's TV. Hopefully, the voice holds out. I'm feeling a little bit better today. Cough sweets, cherry flavour. They're at the ready. How are we all doing? Sorry for cutting yesterday's show short. But today we're speaking about the latest on the takeover of Manchester United. I'm going to run through a report yesterday from Rob Dawson and ESPN suggesting that the new revised bids are not enough for the Glazers. I'll run through that article and we can have a discussion. And also, I want to have a conversation around an article that Duncan Castles did yesterday. Yes, I know it's Duncan Castles, all right. But I want to have a discussion around the concept of a multi-club network involving Manchester United, because I think it's an interesting concept at the very least. Although I don't particularly think there's too much credence in what Duncan is saying, but I'm going to run through it. I'll run through the latest news, all the internationals yesterday with Sabitzer, with Weghorst, with Malacia, with Elanga, with Lindelof. I'm going to have a little conversation around Marcus Rashford and his new contract. There's loads to talk about, as there always is. Good morning to everybody in the comments. Let me have a look. And how you doing, mate? It's good to see you there. John, we've got Nino, Michelle, Michael, Charlie, Carl, Ryan, Liam Griffin. How you doing? Mo Salah. We've got Chester watching on Facebook. We've got Mark Barrett watching. We've got Gungshi. Good morning to you, my friend. And we've got lots more. Josh, I'm sure you're here as well. I'm nearly over whatever this thing is I've got. It's not COVID. Did a COVID test yesterday, and that was negative, which is a good thing, because I'm going away next week, and I don't want to be ill for that. A delayed holiday from, what was it, last summer? I was supposed to go away last summer, and then we ended up signing Casemiro and Anthony in the space of like 3-4 days. So I was like, I can't go away. It was too crazy. So it's a delayed holiday. So hopefully I haven't got COVID, and I don't have COVID right now. But let's jump straight into the news. And we had news yesterday that came out. Now, you might notice a slight difference, by the way. I've set up a new layout, which I think looks a little bit crisper, a little bit cleaner. Hopefully you enjoy it. It's a subtle difference, but it's an improvement, I think. Marcel Sabitzer, we heard news that came out yesterday. Manchester United confirmed that he had suffered a bit of an injury, a bit of a knock in training. Ralph Rangnick said that they didn't know whether or not he was going to play, but Marcel Sabitzer, he was an unused substitute, and that's good news. Sabitzer, in the first game for Austria during the international break, bagged 2 goals, got an assist. He got like 10 out of 10 in terms of player ratings. Not sure what much more you can ask from a midfielder than 2 goals and an assist. And he was an unused substitute. Now, I'll be honest, I really, really hope he's fit. Remember that Casemiro is banned for our game against Newcastle. Eriksen, we don't know whether he's going to be fit and available. Then we've got Fred and McTominay. So fingers crossed Sabitzer is available. I'm still yet to see that midfield trio that I want to see at United. Not across the course of the whole season, but I want to see Sabitzer, Bruno and Casemiro all playing together. Have we seen that in a starting 11 yet? I think we may have seen it once. I can't remember if we've even seen it once, though. But he sat on the bench, and I think that's a good thing. A little bit of rest for him. Weghorst played, didn't score. Malacia played. 3-0 win over from the Netherlands over Gibraltar. There's not much to report there. He's playing against Gibraltar. Lindelof played 90 minutes as well, and also Elanga came off the bench, scored a tidy little goal, rounded the keeper. Only played 3 minutes, grabbed the goal. Good for him. So in this international break now, you've got Elanga scored a goal, McTominay scored 2, and McTominay plays tonight against Spain. Let's see what goes on there. Sabitzer scored 2 and got an assist. Casemiro scored. Bruno Fernandes got an assist. It's a clean sheet for Lindelof. A clean sheet for Malacia. They only played 24 minutes. It really is. It really has been quite an impressive international break for United's players. Let's see what McTominay does tonight against Spain. Maybe he can come up with another 2 cracking goals. Leo, nice to see you joining there as a member, mate. Great to have you on board. It's as I've said yesterday, these couple of days, when it comes to an international break, it's a long old time. It's 2 weeks without United, right? This bit in the middle is always the lowest dip. at the start of the second week when there hasn't been any week football from the week before, and there's still a week before the next game coming up. These couple of days here, we're kind of trudging through. But that's kind of, it is what it is. But I'm looking forward to having football to talk about again. We've got Newcastle on Sunday. It's not going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. Good luck to Scott McTominay, who plays tonight against Spain. As I said, he scored 2 goals from the bench in Scotland's 3-0 win over Cyprus. I hope that McTominay can grab another couple of goals, although slightly more difficult opposition when you play in Spain. Let me see what else you're saying down here in the comments. No one's saying too much. Alex, you're asking whether or not they started together versus Leicester at Old Trafford. I can't remember. If they have started together, they may have started together once. But they really have not had much game time together. And it's a real shame. I think as a trio, it would work extremely, extremely well. Now, look at that down there. Good morning to you, my friend Nathan. Is that you? Yeah, it is Nathan, dude. How you doing, man? Thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. The gong gets a tickle. Thank you, dude. Great to have you on board here. We've got a little gong shi out. Now, we can move on to the main part of today's show. Actually, no, I'll speak about this for a little bit. I did a video yesterday, which is a slightly different video to normal. And these are the videos I love doing on United People's TV, the more researched ones. Made a trailer for it. And I thought it was an interesting... It's not a comparison to look at Qatari's ownership of PSG. But you have to be a fool, right, to think that Sheikh Jassim, even if it's a private bid, right? That's the concept. They're creating that separation. Eamon, you may as well leave, my buddy, if you find it annoying. It's part of the community. It's not annoying. And if it is annoying, you haven't been around here long enough. So, anyway, back to what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. The Qatari ownership of PSG. I thought it was an interesting comparison because, as I said, there's absolutely no way that somebody inside Qatar, private or not, is spending £5 billion without the Emir taking a look at it and going, you know what? All right, cool. They will have created that separation, but you'd be foolish to think that. I'm not saying that the Qatar state is involved, but they certainly would have given it a sign-off. And that's why I've wanted to take a look at the ownership of PSG to see what sort of successes and failures they had when they came in and they installed Leonardo as a sporting director and the amount of money they spent. I mean, Man United managed to spend more money than PSG did. Imagine that. That's sickening. That's how much money we've wasted. Imagine we had... Anyway, let's not speak about the past. Let's speak about the future. And also the sort of the complications that they've had with the stadium, with the redevelopment of a brand new training facility, which I believe is going to open this year. If you haven't checked it out, it's on the channel. I think you will enjoy it. If not, well, we move on anyway. But let's move to the main conversation around the show. The 2 talking points around the takeover. The first one, I want to run through an article from ESPN. Now, I've kind of maintained that I don't want to feed hysteria by just constantly bringing updates here and there when there isn't an update to speak about. But I'm going to bring you this from Rob Dawson from ESPN because this week is an important week, right? Let's run through this article. The revised bids, Rob Dawson reports, will fall short of the Glazers family's valuation, although there is still hope a buyout can happen. Second offers were lodged by interested parties last week. We know who. There's down there, right? It's mentioned again. Thomas Zilliacus. I don't know whether I'm being unfair on him, but it reeks of Michael Knighton V2. You know, Michael Knighton, who said all the right things, but really didn't have anything to back it up with. It's the way I look at this Thomas Zilliacus thing. Saying all the right things. Actually, no, he's not saying all the right things now. It's just a bit weird. It's just a bit odd. And yesterday, he released a press statement off the back of an article from Football 365 that was written about a poll that had like less than like 325 votes that people wanted Thomas Zilliacus as the owner. It's just weird. It's weird. The whole thing is weird. That's the only way I can describe that. But in terms of this, look, sources have told ESPN that bids from Sheikh Jassim and Ratcliffe have increased from around 4.5 bill, but remain below the asking price of 6 bill. I don't particularly, well, we've spoken about this whole way through, haven't we? They've all signed NDAs, Sheikh Jassim, Jim Ratcliffe, and INEOS, so they're not speaking out in public. They can't speak out in public. They have to keep those bids sort of behind closed doors. So I don't know. Look, maybe ESPN have got cracking sources, but this week, and you can see it down there at the bottom, right? I think I've always thought a third round of bidding would be likely, and everything points towards that. Because let's be honest, you'd be surprised more than anything if Sheikh Jassim or Jim Ratcliffe came in with a bid that was 6 billion at this point. I would be anyway. You might disagree with me. You can let me know in the comments below, but I would be surprised if they did, because it's all part of the negotiation. I expect, and I have expected, that third round of bidding, and I think we'll know. Maybe we'll know a little bit sooner than Saturday, because I think this is an interesting point. So the Man United's financial second quarter results come out on Thursday. I'm anticipating on there being somewhere in the region, if the forecasts were correct, that there should be a loss of around about, I don't know, 25 million, 25 to 35 million as part of those second quarter results. Because Man United are forecast to lose, well, we've lost in excess of 100 million, in the last 2-3 years, I think we have. But those quarterly results are not expected to be positive. I don't know whether that's going to force any sort of chat, like force an issue or anything like that. Probably not. There's a super chat there from somebody. Let me quickly read this one out. Jonathan Jonkman. You're saying, hey, Sam, I was thinking about buying Enzo Lafite. You're going to buy him. That's nice. You might want to look into him and do a video on him. Well, Jonathan, and weirdly enough, your username is very close to the man I'll be speaking to today. I'm going to be speaking to Jonathan Johnson, who's from CBS Sports. He covers the French league for them. I'm going to speak to him about Enzo Lafite. After yesterday, he confirmed that he's going to be leaving Lorient in the summer. Now, he is a man that quite a few of you, I know, have been speaking about. I'm going to chat to him about his season, about his development. How has he been getting on? What sort of midfielder is he? Is he a potential alternative to Frenkie de Jong? So I'm going to be speaking about that. I don't know whether I'm going to release that video today or tomorrow, but that video will be coming out very soon on Enzo Lafite. Quite a few of you have been asking me to do it, so I'm doing it. I do listen sometimes. Honestly, I do. Anthony saying, thankful for this community, being a member for 8 months. How you doing, buddy? I only see the those member messages when I come over here. Jonesy, 7 months a member. Thank you so much to all the gifters, mate. It's cool, man. I need to get some updated badges on here. So many of you have been members for so long. That's pretty cool. Alex, you're saying looking forward to the Enzo Lafite vid. Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm with every transfer target that we've got this year, I'm going to try and do 2 or 3 different types of videos. Number 1, going to try and do a scout report. Number 2, I'm going to try and speak to a journalist who's been watching him and that player and their development this season. So somebody who's really watched them all year will have a better understanding of that player than I will. And number 3, to do a video looking at how that player would fit in at Manchester United from a tactical perspective. I think it'll be good to do those 3 videos on every main target that we've got, which is a lot of videos, but we've got a lot of time. It's March. I'll cover it all. You know I do. But let's go and speak about this. Really is an interesting, I think will be an interesting conversation. Now, this is coming from Duncan Castles. As I said, Duncan Castles. Back in the day, if you don't know who Duncan Castles, I remember when Man United got Mourinho. That was when Duncan Castles really was the mouthpiece of Jorge Mendes, who, of course, was Mourinho's agent, if I remember correctly. I think so, anyway. And he slated Manchester United for years, at every possible opportunity. But as soon as Mourinho came to Manchester United, he became like the biggest Man United fan in the world. It was really weird. Anyway, he's reporting this yesterday. And I want to say, before we run through this article, that this is a concept at this point. And there are some flaws in this concept, right? And I'll discuss them. But I want to run through this, and you can let me know what you think. Let me put myself down there. We've got nice on full screen, and I'll run through this. A plan to place Manchester United at the helm of Europe's most powerful multi-club network has been drawn up in the expectation that they will be brought under Qatari ownership by the beginning of next season. QSI already owns PSG, Sporting Braga they've got a stake in. Last week, a group fronted by Sheikh Jassim, chairman of the Qatari Islamic Bank and son, blah, 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 increased their offer to buy Man United, while QSI chairman Nasser Al-Khelaifi announced his interest in taking over Malaga. Now, Malaga, interestingly enough, was bought back in 2000. Was it 11? Let's have a look. No, 2013. 10 years ago. No, 2010. By Sheikh Abdullah Al Thani. And Duncan Castles is describing him as a subsidiary, I believe. Let's have a look. Where is it when he says that? Malaga have been owned by a subsidiary member of the Qatari ruling family. That's an interesting one, see if there's any link there. Anyway, let's run through this, because it says this. Record Sport understands that senior QSI executives envisage deploying Braga as a development club for both PSG and Man United. Elite talents will be signed from European and South American football, then moved to Portugal to gain experience before being transferred up the multi-club system. Now, the big flaw in this whole concept is that it's creating a link between QSI and Manchester United, which is exactly the opposite of what this 9-2 foundation is supposed to be doing, right? This 9-2 foundation is supposed to be something considered a separate entity entirely to QSI. QSI, who own PSG, that's the state sports investment arm. Sorry, one sec. So to then create a multi-club network would... Sorry. The tickle's still there. To create that link would just seem very strange. So I want to know what you think about the idea of a multi-club network. As I said, it's a pure concept at this point, but it's worth a conversation. Because if you're looking at what Man City have done, Man City with the City group. I don't know. There's so many clubs under that group now. I don't even know who's in there. Leipzig and Salzburg under the Red Bull network, and there are other ones as well. But Jay, you're down there. You're saying this story makes no sense. I think the idea of informal conversations behind the scenes, that could make sense. But the idea of actually trying to turn it into a multi-club network, and it wouldn't be anything that could ever be formalized. The idea that Man United, PSG, Braga, maybe add Malaga into that as well, could all be linked directly. It would be a surprise. I'll be honest, I hate multi-club networks. All of them. I also hate state ownership of football clubs. And I hate... hate's a strong word. No, but pretty much I do. I hate the way that modern football has been shaped by it. And I wish it wasn't the case. I really genuinely wish it wasn't the case. But that hasn't stopped it from happening. That won't stop it from continuing to happen. And it's not an acceptance of the way that football's going, but pretty much I suppose it is. I prefer that it didn't go down that route, but it has gone down that route with other clubs. UEFA, Alexander Seferin, the UEFA president, has gone on record saying that they're considering changing their rules now around multi-club ownership because they realise that's the way that it's going. That's the way that it's gone. Is there anything that we can do to stop it now? They don't particularly think so. I'm going to go down and see what you think about this in the comments. Hafiz, you're saying, didn't we have Sporting Lisbon as a sister club of some sort? Man United back in the day, for about 20 years, I think, we had a direct partnership with Royal Antwerp, who were a Belgian club. And we sent, that was back in Fergie's time. We sent about 20, 30 players on loan there. So it wasn't really a feeder club. It was a place where we knew we could send our players to develop in a first-team football environment. Call it like a safe loan system more than anything. This would be very, very different. The idea that Braga would sign players, then develop them for 18 months from South America inside the Portuguese league, and then just pass them on to Man United. It's because, as I said, like, Portugal have got it right. Their business model is flourishing off the back of it. Benfica in particular, their scouts. Look, Enzo Fernandez. You can go back with the who's who of so many players that Benfica have signed. You got Darwin Núñez recently. You got Enzo Fernandez. You can talk about Angel Di Maria, Nemanja Matic, David Luiz. There are so many. Conceição, who went to Real Madrid. So many. I've just forgotten about 15 of them probably. They clearly do something correct. And that's why that's pretty much probably why QSI bought 24% of Braga, because they're like, right, okay, we can do that. And we can bring that. Ruben Diaz is another one. It's amazing what they do. I don't think anybody's made more profit on player sales than Benfica have over the last 10 years. I remember looking at that, like a list that was included a while ago. It was incredible. Teresa, you're saying, considering how bad our scouting is, it might help us save some money on transfers. I mean, that's pretty much what this would do. That's the whole concept of it, a multi-club network. I hate the idea of it from a competitive sense for other clubs. That's properly the elite just sweeping up, just sweeping everything up. I'd rather it wasn't the case. I'd rather there wasn't state ownership in football. And that's not just being like, but it was better back in the day. It's just I'd rather it wasn't like that. I'm going to go down there and read a few more of your comments. It would create Joy. You're saying it would create a direct link with QSI, which is exactly what Al Thani doesn't want. That's why the actual concept of it seems a bit the idea of that seems strange, but the concept of having some sort of informal network, I don't know how you can keep that behind the scenes. I don't know. Brian, you're saying it's not ideal, of course, for state ownership and the club network, but in the end, it is how the modern world works, not unlike mega corporations. As I said, it was I don't particularly like the idea of it. I don't. But here we are. Here we are. James is saying, not great having one feeder club, then United and PSG are fighting with themselves for top talent. Well, that is if you create a direct link between Manchester United and PSG. Man, I could understand if at the very top levels behind the scenes in Qatar, these sorts of conversations are happening, right? The amount of money that Qatar as a state has spent on PSG, the amount of money that Qatar as a state spent on the World Cup, in excess of 200 billion they spent on the World Cup, on hosting it, creating the infrastructure for it, and then taking it all down. And now the private, possibly, takeover of Manchester United, fronted by Sheikh Jassim and the 9-2 Foundation. It's just a lot, isn't it? Corey, you're saying, Sam, you hate state ownership, but who else could we get? Ratcliffe, Zilliacus, a hedge fund. Qatar seems to be the best of a bad bunch. I'm not saying that I hate the idea of a Qatari takeover. I'm saying I hate that I, as a United fan, and just football fans in general, We've been forced into this position by what's happened over the last 10 to 15 years. That's what I hate. I hate that I don't really think look, I'm not saying I hate a Qatari takeover. I'm just saying I hate what's happened over these last 10, 15 years in football ownership, in what's been allowed, and how the Premier League is now genuinely a billionaire's playground off the back of all of this. That's what I hate. Yeah, I absolutely hate that. Alex, wow. Mate, thank you so much, dude, man. You're a ledge. Alex has been helping behind the scenes quietly. What a dude, man. Thank you so much. You've been helping with the website. The website, by the way, everyone, we're hopefully going to be launching at the start of April. That's what we're aiming for. I've still got to do a bit of work. If it's delayed, it's on me, by the way, not on the guys who have been helping with the website. It's a big up to all of you. Jason, you're asking whether the banks collapsing in USA has affected the sale. I don't know whether it's affected the sale, but it's certainly made the lending market a nervous place. Nah, just less secure, the lending market, which obviously puts questions on the INEOS bid. And because, well, we know full well that is going to be partly funded by loans from Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, I believe. I think so anyway. Sigmund, you're there as well. Hey, everyone's here today. I feel much better today. I can actually speak. I can't speak. I can actually speak today. I can speak. Man, yesterday, this cough has been so annoying. I have no idea why it's lasting that long. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments, man. Corey, you're saying, I agree, but we just have to accept it for what it is. No, I do. You don't just have to accept it. Oh, it's happened. All right, well, don't moan about it. Don't complain about it. Don't speak about it. Don't discuss it. That's the opposite of what you got to do. That is hilarious that I just got a coughing fit just after saying that I feel a little bit better. We don't need to speak about that anymore. Man, goodbye, cough. Please leave. That was a proper jinx. That was an absolute jinx. Oh, yeah, this is what I was speaking about earlier with that Thomas Zilliacus stuff. So I got this press release yesterday. I don't know what, yesterday morning? No idea what it was. Football 365 survey. Let's go full screen on this one. Oh. Whoa! There we go. Anyway, Thomas Zilliacus sent this press release out. Football 365 survey. Majority of Manchester United fans prefer the bid of Thomas Zilliacus over that of Sheikh Jassim. This is the poll. He sent a press release out because of a poll that an author from Football 365 made on his personal account with 325 votes and said the majority of Manchester United fans want to take over. Sigmund, you've written it down there. What a joke, man! What a joker! What a joker! It's really, really, it's so odd. I'm proper scratching my head around that. Daryl saying just now we'll be referring to you as sickly, Sam. I don't know. Refer to me as what you want. Hopefully, at some point it's got to go. It's got to go. I've had everybody with all your suggestions of what to do. Trust me, I've done them all. And it still hasn't gone. I don't know what's going on. I've never get ill. These last few months, it's annoying. And you're saying, I worry we are already behind the curve as a nation at developing young talent. I think this multi-club ownership would be the death knell. I'm not sure those two things are linked. I'll be completely honest. But it is what it is. Peter, you're saying Zilliacus does sound... He does sound like another Knighton. It's weird. It's really, really weird. I'll be completely honest. And that's why I didn't invite him on the channel for an interview. I made that personal choice. If other people wanted to do it, and look, Andy Mitten decided to give him a platform on United We Stand. So I'm not slagging people that are giving him the platform just to speak about it, but just in my opinion, I'm not giving him that platform. Now, there's an article that came out yesterday, which I'm going to probably ignore the comments for a minute or two whilst I discuss it. Laurie Whitwell released an article yesterday on Mason Greenwood, and if you haven't read it, I would encourage you to subscribe to The Athletic so you can. There is a lot of information in this article. There's a lot of backstory in this article around Mason Greenwood, around Manchester United, and how they've been dealing with Mason Greenwood ever since he broke through as a star, or even before that. And I suppose the difficulties that have existed in that relationship between Manchester United and between Mason Greenwood, and the different occasions on how the club has tried to help him, has tried to intervene. And there's a lot of them. That's effectively what this is written there. The backstory of Mason Greenwood at Manchester United. I'll be totally honest, right? I think the longer this goes on, the more chance there is that Mason Greenwood somehow plays for Manchester United again. I don't want it to happen. I've made my opinion on that abundantly clear. And you can all you're entitled to your opinions, but I'm not looking at them now because I'm not getting dragged into an argument or a conversation around this. I don't think he should be playing for the club again, but the longer it goes on, I think the more chance of it that it could happen. Maybe the takeovers delaying. I don't really know how those two things are linked in any way, shape, or form, but nothing is being said at this moment in time. But that article there from Laurie Whitwell offering the sort of the full backstory of Mason Greenwood's not difficult relationship with the club, but it's not been plain sailing. I think that's probably the fairest way to describe it. But let's find out what happens. As I said, the longer this goes on, I think the more chance there is of him playing for the club again. Let's find out what goes on here. As I said, I'm not going down to the comments. I'm not gonna get involved in this. I've made my opinion abundantly clear on this, so we don't need to speak about it. Moving on from Mason Greenwood and talking about Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford, again, a nice long article from The Athletic speaking about his contract situation. Manchester United are in talks. And I'll be totally honest, maybe I'm a little bit wrong in my confidence, but I'm really confident in Marcus Rashford signing a new contract, and I'm not particularly worried about it. What do you think? Are you worried about the fact that Marcus Rashford at PSG last summer, there's suggestions that he was offered in excess of £400,000 a week to join PSG last summer? Remember when we all thought that was Rashford's brother and I think his brother's his agent, just trying to use that interest to try and get a better deal at Manchester United, and we didn't know whether there was any interest or not. Apparently, he was offered over 400 grand a week. But as I said, I'm not particularly worried about Rashford. I think he'll sign a new contract at Manchester United. I think he wants to be at Manchester United. I think that's important. And that's why I'm not... Hey, look, famous last words, right? When he ends up signing for PSG or signing for somewhere else. But he is Manchester through and through. And given all the tough times that we've gone through, I think the idea that Rashford at this point would turn his back on the club it just seems a bit of a strange one to me. Alex, you're saying you think he'll sign because he wants his legacy at Old Trafford. What better than leading us back to a Premier League title? Whoever does this as Manchester United players will go down with some legacy. And I said that I remember when Diogo Dalot spoke about that during the preseason. He goes, imagine we could be the players that take Manchester United back to the top. They really will be remembered. They really, really will be. think someone else down there. Let's have a look down. Oh, wow. Jonathan, man. You ledge. Absolute ledge. Gifting 10 memberships. Hell yeah. Put it. Legend, dude. Thank you so much for gifting 10. Let me see what you're saying down here. Robert, you're saying he's not going to leave now as we are on the cusp of great things. I think that's, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. It's like, if Rashford stayed here throughout Van Gaal. No, is it Van Gaal he came? Van Gaal. He had his debut under Van Gaal, didn't he? Midtjylland. Is that Van Gaal? I'm making that up. Rashford, Van Gaal, debut. I think it was. Yeah, good. For some reason, I thought I got it wrong. He's been here through Van Gaal. He's been here through Mourinho. He's been here through Solskjaer. He's been here through Rangnick. And now he's here with Ten Hag. I would just be, it would be a surprise more than anything if at this point Rashford goes, you know what? Nah, I'm going to go somewhere else. So I'm not particularly worried about that. And I think he'll sign a new deal. But right now, Man United are in talks to get that new deal sorted for David De Gea. And we've spoken about De Gea previously in some detail. And no doubt we will at some point across the course of the rest of the season as well. He's on 375 grand a week, I believe. Man United do have the option to extend his contract, but they don't want to extend his contract at 375 grand a week. They want him to sign a new deal on reduced terms. And whether that means reduced terms, plus we get a new goalkeeper in, someone like David Raya from Brentford, someone like Diogo Costa from Porto, could be one of those two, could be another goalkeeper altogether. I think that's what we should do, but whether we do that, I don't know. So De Gea's contract and Marcus Rashford's contract, probably two of the biggest things that Manchester United have to sort internally with this squad. Now, as I said earlier in the show, on Thursday, Manchester United's latest quarterly results are out. It'll be interesting to see and to take a look at those. But Manchester United are not financially, as a football club, in a good place. We haven't been for some time. And sort of like, yeah, it's really starting to now be reflected in our books. David, you're saying on Rashford, you're saying you don't think he will leave. I believe come the summer he will sign. He's learnt the hard way that he needs to prioritize playing over things in the background. Rashford is one of the best role models that young kids have in the Premier League. Incredible role model for what he did when he took on the government, for all the stuff he's been doing off the pitch. He took on a hell of a lot of responsibility. And with that responsibility comes pressure. And playing for Manchester United, real pressure. So it wasn't that he needed to focus and prioritize on what he was doing on the pitch. It's just that he took on so much that I think that pressure became a little bit overbearing on him. And that's not a slight on him. But you can't do everything to 100% if you're doing it all at the same time. I know that through experience on a far lesser scale than Rashford and what he was doing. And I'm sure you do it as well. When you're focused on one thing and your ability to do that thing is infinitely better than if you're doing two things at once and you're really trying to do them to the best of your abilities. And you're saying Rashford is also a role model for adults. Yeah, it's a good point there. It's not just kids. But yeah, I love Marcus Rashford. I love the way he's come through everything that he's had to deal with and what he's doing now. He's going to score 35, 36 goals probably by the end of the season. Amazing. Amazing. And imagine we finish that season as well on a cup treble. How awesome would that be? And again, you can't rule that out. You cannot rule that out. Gary, you're saying De Gea deserves more respect. The guy carried our club when we were pure shite. Think he stays with a new keeper in to push each other. I'm not saying, I've never said that De Gea doesn't deserve more respect. However, if you were talking about respect, the idea of saying to David De Gea, all right, Dave, want you to sign a new deal, but we're going to sign a new goalkeeper, so you're going to be our second choice. How about that? You've been one of my most important players for 10 years, do you fancy sitting on the bench now whilst we sign another goalkeeper? That is disrespectful. So I don't know. And therefore, are you really going to spend 275, hypothetically, 250 grand-ish a week on a backup goalkeeper? It's a lot of money. I don't know how you I don't know the right answer to that. My personal take is that now feels like the right time for Manchester United to invest in a goalkeeper that is built for Ten Hag's system. I've seen enough this season to know that De Gea won't ever be that guy. Fantastic as he is, and I'll tell you what, right? And this might piss people off. Even as a shot stopper this season, David De Gea hasn't been at his peak. That might annoy you, but it's the truth. Craig, you said you've entered the PS5 competition. You bought 5 tickets. Good luck to you. We have got 3 days left on the PS5 competition. I'm going to be announcing the next giveaway, which is even bigger than this one. This is a cracker. But yeah, thank you for all that have entered. And good luck to you as well. We're going to make the draw. And you're saying, to play devil's advocate, is it not disrespectful to not let him make that decision? I suppose you could say that, but that decision has to be laid clearly to him. If we go to David De Gea and say, look, love you, what you've done for the club has been brilliant, but we want to sign a new goalkeeper. We need more competition in this spot. It's an area of the pitch where I, as a manager, as Erik Ten Hag, feel that we need to improve. So I'm going to be signing one. Do you want to sign on reduced terms with the possibility the next season you might be second choice, depending on how good this goalkeeper is going to be? Cool. I suppose you could give that option to David De Gea. But the idea of spending $250,000 a week on a backup goalkeeper, it's a bit weird. Joe, you're saying stop talking rubbish, Sam. Where will we be with our saves this season? I'm not talking rubbish, dude. I know I'm not talking rubbish. I could back it up with stats and facts. I don't need to. I know what I'm seeing with my own eyes. Jeez. You can't say anything bad against David De Gea and certain people. People are furious, refuse to listen to any sort of concept that he might not be the goalkeeper for the future. Spoiler alert, he's not. But what a goalkeeper he has been for these last 10 years. Moving on to something that happened yesterday. Manchester United announced the first game of the pre-season tour. We're going to be playing Wrexham. I mean, if you want an example of what modern football is, it's right there. Right there. Manchester United are going to be playing non-league Wrexham, who, by the time that we play them there, might be in League 2. But we're playing them because, of course, their owners, Ryan Reynolds and, was it McAvenny? Can never remember his name. I think it's McAvenny. I'm getting distracted because the A word has come out. The A word has come out. My favorite word. Doesn't suit my agenda. Oh, yes. I love it when people drop the word agenda. And I love calling people out for it. It's my favorite thing. Agenda, is it? Or is it just an acceptance that I'm looking at this from a different perspective than you are? What would happen if David De Gea... What David De Gea has done previously for Manchester United has been fantastic. Incredible. Where we would have dropped to had De Gea not been in this squad, I shudder to think. He has been the safety net for our club for so long. He's now had more clean sheets for our club than any other goalkeeper. You could argue that he is the greatest goalkeeper that Manchester United have ever had. My personal opinion is that it's Peter Schmeichel. In terms of what I remember watching, and of course, I remember watching Peter Schmeichel when we were winning league titles, so that might be skewing my memory of him. But man, Peter Schmeichel was just such a commanding force. He was incredible. He was incredible. But the idea that I think Manchester United should be looking forward without David De Gea is an agenda. Owen, go and look at the definition of what an agenda is. All right? Because you're completely and utterly wrong here. And you're getting called out for it. Sorry, mate. Having an opinion does not mean having an agenda. My opinion is that David De Gea, on the course of what I've seen this season, is not going to be good enough in Erik ten Hag's system to be that goalkeeper who can operate just as much as a deep line playmaker as he can as a goalkeeper. And you think that's an agenda? No, it's not an agenda. That's an opinion. A very, very different thing. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. Joe, you're saying, I understand he doesn't fit the Ten Hag system in the long run, but he has been incredible this year. He's had a few shaky moments. Dude, David De Gea was incredible in Mourinho when we finished second. That's when David De Gea was incredible. David De Gea has not been incredible this year. Come on. He's not been. People. Yeah, he's had some outrageous saves. He has. But he hasn't been incredible this year. Not if, as I said, if you're going to be using the marker of David De Gea in that season where we finished second under Mourinho, that was when De Gea was incredible. Not this season, people. But yeah, man, and this, I think this, this idea is kind of what drags United down a little bit. I've told you this before, and I've said this before quite a lot of times, right? Let me pull up a picture of David De Gea and Ten Hag whilst we're having this conversation, right? I think this is important. Well, not having a photo up is not important, but this conversation we're having here about David De Gea is important. Right. Let's pull this up here. Erik ten Hag, look, when we as United fans, I've said this all along, right? We as United fans, we look at David De Gea, and we have 12 years of memories of watching this kid arrive at Manchester United as some like scrawny Spanish goalkeeper with no confidence whatsoever. And you were like, oh my God, what have we signed here? He was signed to replace Van der Sar, and we questioned him and we watched him grow. We watched him physically beef out. I remember that season when he came back. I think it was when Eric Steele was our goalkeeping coach. And he came back for pre-season training. We were like, what? Jeez. And then De Gea grew in, and he reached a point where for about 2 seasons, you could really argue, 2 or 3 seasons, that David De Gea was the best goalkeeper in the world. It was incredible what he grew into at the club. And that's what we as fans have got. We've got those 11, 12 years of memories. You know what Erik ten Hag has got? 8 months, 7, 8 months. And he's been at Ajax. He's had his goalkeepers. He knows exactly what he wants his goalkeeper. Wasn't it was it Onana? No, I'm trying to think. I'm getting mixed up here, I think. Anyway. Ten Hag will be basing his opinion of David De Gea on what he sees this season. So any of you going down there saying, David De Gea deserves more respect. He does deserve complete respect. But Ten Hag will be judging David De Gea on what he's seen solely this season. What does it matter to Ten Hag how good David De Gea was in Mourinho's season when we finished second? It doesn't matter to David De Gea. That doesn't matter to Erik ten Hag. And that's the big difference here between how Ten Hag is going to be looking at this and how a lot of United fans will be looking at this. Because we've got a lot more memories. And therefore, that changes how our opinion is formed on David De Gea. So many of you in the comments there, you're accusing me of an agenda when I'm simply pointing out something that I can see in front of myself. I don't know whether Manchester United, I'll tell you what is going to come into this. It's going to be a point of finance as well. Because it depends on your priorities, right? David, right? There's a comment there that this is the thing that confuses the heck out of me. I remember when De Gea arrived, what he was good at, it wasn't necessarily playing out from the back with the ball that he was good at, you know, in terms of the short passes to defenders. But what he was very good at was those mid-range kicks, the ones that were about 20 to 30 meters. He would just ping them over two players perfectly to the feet of like an advanced fullback or a winger who's dropping deeper. He was so good at that. And it confuses the heck out of me as well. And that's why at the start of the season, when Erik ten Hag came in, I was like, I really hope we see that De Gea improves in that confidence and refines that. Because, mate, the dude was brought up in Spanish football. It's part of how they play. But yeah, it kind of did get coached out of him. It's just that we could argue all day long about this. Anybody who wants to try and say to me, that I've got an agenda against De Gea, I mean, stop it. You're just throwing words at me that you don't truly understand if you're saying that. Honestly, you're making yourself look a bit silly. B, the modern goalkeeper has changed. You imagine Gary Neville trying to be a modern-day fullback. I don't think it would work. Sorry, Gary. It wouldn't work. Whereas Gary Neville back in the day, outstanding fullback for Manchester United. But in the modern game, because modern fullbacks have advanced, modern fullbacks are different now than what they were 5 years ago. The requirements of those fullbacks are more intense. They're different because the game has developed. The same here goes for goalkeepers. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's just the truth. All right? I don't think David De Gea will be Manchester United's goalkeeper in the long term. But I also don't know whether that's going to be changing this summer. Because as I said, in terms of finances, number one is a new number 9. That's the first of everybody's list. And it depends whether you argue another midfielder or another goalkeeper is the biggest priority as number 2. And I think a lot of that, I don't know the answer to that one. But anyway, that was a 10-minute sort of conversation. I wouldn't say it was a rant, but I hate it when people accuse me of agendas, because it's just 9 times out of 10, you know full well, I repeat it every single time. The only agenda I've got is what is best for Manchester United. That's the only agenda I've ever got on this channel, and it drives my opinions on everything. And I think we need a goalkeeper who is far more confident. You know that confidence that you have, right? You know that confidence that you have every time Martinez gets the ball at his feet. That's the confidence that we need when the goalkeeper gets the ball at his feet. Because I'm not sure about you, but every single time that De Gea has the ball at his feet, I'm a little bit like that now. I'm a little bit like that. Martin Baker, are we going to talk about Brandon Williams? Hell no, we're not going to talk about that. It's having a balloon. So what? Done. Gear, you're saying De Gea will never be. I really, really, really wanted him to be. I really wanted him to be. And I think at the start of the season, he started to show a bit of progress. However, I think as the season has gone on, in those games where the team is pressing from the front, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really work. But look, I'm going to wrap this one up for today. We made it through a full show. Good. Not that many coughing fits. I've only got 2 of these left. I need more hauls. But big up to everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. As I said, this is the end of the international break. It's always a bit low. No one really wants to talk about it, but we've got a game coming up in a few days, man. I've got an interview in the next 15 minutes now with Jonathan Johnson about Enzo Lafay. I might be releasing that today. I might be releasing a video. I think there's an interesting conversation to have, a deeper conversation to have around the multi-club concept, the multi-club network concept. So I'll figure out what goes out at lunchtime today. But big up to all of you, to Jonathan, to Alex, to Sigmund, to everybody else who gifted memberships. You're all legends. We're getting back, and football's back on Sunday. There's an interesting debate there around David De Gea, but it's not an agenda. So don't accuse me of that. Because if you do, I'm going to make you look silly. Take it easy.